Yeah, no, I'm excited about our conversation. Like just the different lifestyles in America and different lifestyles in China. So um, yeah, so I guess like I'll start just talking about the different lifestyles here in America, and then maybe you can talk a little bit about lifestyles in China. Um, so I would say like the two major different lifestyles are rural and city life. And rural life is more about farming. So you have farmers, and do you know the word rural? Rural,
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
great, great.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's like countryside or living, right?
Yeah.
So most of the lifestyle there in the rural side of America is farming, and then within farming we have two different types of farming, which is um, crops. So you grow like crops like wheat or beans or rice, and then you have animal farming, like you do like chicken farming, pig farming, um, stuff like that. So and like cows and stuff, and then so that's farming, and then you have ranches. So ranches is where they grow and um, they they take care of like horses and stuff like that. So they basically they basically raise horses so that they can sell them to people and stuff like that. So those are on ranches, and yeah, and then you also have like sheep farmers. Sheep farmers also raise sheep so that they can sell their wool. Um, so yeah, so there's lots of different type of farming in America that um, like lots of different ones. So you have farmers who raise animals to sell them as goods, as merchandise, right? So you can sell horses, you can sell sheep, fur, um, and then there's other farmers who sell animals for like food, like pigs, chicken, um, and stuff like that. And then you have the farmers who sell crops, like wheat and stuff, corn. Like wheat and corn are like the two biggest cash crops in
Yeah,
America.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's similar
yeah, it's
to
similar.
China.
Okay,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
and then
Um,
um, yeah, so those are the different type of lifestyles in rural America. And then like it surprised me too, but do can you guess like the kind of like um, the age of farmers nowadays, like the majority of farmers, like how old do you think they are?
mm, different kind different kinds of ages, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yeah, different
So
kind of ages.
maybe uh, is
Elderly, yeah,
elder
right.
one.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I thought like, oh, most of the farmers are very old and elderly, but
Yeah.
now actually, there's a lot of younger farmers now. There's a lot of
Wow.
people who go to school. They go to college, and they learn about agriculture, and
Mm-hmm.
then they become farmers. So now you have a lot of college educated farmers now
Yeah.
who are becoming farmers, and that really surprised me. Um, so
Mm.
yeah, so I.
There are many
Mhm.
young college students to be farmers in America.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll send you this article.
Mm.
So this article,
Wow,
and then
so cool.
yeah, yeah, and then you can read the article later, but
Okay.
this article will just like show you some people. So um there's some people like 35 years old, um
Mm-hmm.
and then you have like, yeah, people who just graduated from college, going into Um, going into farming. But yeah, like the average age of American farmers, it is like old people, right? It's like 58, um, and sometimes you have people like farmers that are over 65. Um, but like now, like the younger ones are getting more interested in farming. Um,
Wow.
so it's growing now.
I think most of them are rich
Um,
and
most farmers are rich. I would say because they live in the rural side of America, they don't have to be rich because in those parts of America, like you don't need to like land is very cheap. So I guess I guess like living in that side of America, you don't have to be rich. You just have to like be okay, be average, and then you'll be fine. But maybe if they go to the city, they won't be rich. But in the rural side of America, they're okay. They're average. Yeah.
mm-hmm. And your in Ruth side,
Hmm.
they have much land.
Yeah, they have so much land, so much land. It's yeah, and that's the thing about like the different type of farmers. If you are a farmer who grows crops, then you have to use all of that land to
Mm-hmm.
plant your crops, to plant your
Yes.
seeds. But if you're a farmer who raises horses, who raises cattle and stuff like that, then all of that land is free for your horses to run around and your cows to graze. So um, yeah, so that's kind of how it is. Um, yeah. So that's the rural side of America. So I
Mm-hmm.
would love to hear about the
You
rural
you
side
know
of China.
Mm, I think it's similar,
Oh, okay.
but I want to know the transportation in your rural side
Uh,
is very good.
um, Probably not. So the rural side, it doesn't have like public transportation and stuff like that. So the closest thing to public transportation would be, I would say, the 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 railroads, that pass through the those rural places, those towns, and I would say the railroads aren't like the public transportation trains. They're not like the trains in New York City or the
Mm-hmm.
trains like in Beijing. Like um, they go through different towns, so they would go from one town to the next town, and the travel is much longer. Um, but I would say it's not very great, but most people in those towns, I don't think they need to use the transportation that often. So
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
and if they need to go somewhere, they just get in their car and then drive. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, yeah. Uh, Maybe I just know the rural side in the south of China.
Mm.
Mm,
Uh-huh.
because I live in the south of China.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's very similar. Okay, most most roadside people they they grow their crops,
Mm.
hmm and and they use machines.
Mm.
Um, but in some poor countryside, uh, um, the lands aren't very uh, how to say
Fertile?
uh, yeah,
Fertile.
there are some hills, mountains,
Oh, okay.
hills, maybe hills. So it's not very,
Right.
um, yeah, it's not very convenient to use machines.
Right.
So these farmers are very are poor, maybe I think,
I
because
see.
they yeah yeah they need to use their own labor to grow some crops. So it's low eff- efficient.
Low efficiency. Low efficiency.
Yeah,
I see.
low efficient.
So my question is, are farmers educated in that part of the of
Mm,
China? Because, you know.
I think most maybe I just know some things
Mhm.
in around me. Okay, maybe many farmers are not very educated.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
yeah, they maybe, but I will I have ever
Mhm.
seen some news about young college students go their hometown
Yeah.
and raise some um, maybe chickens, cows,
Oh,
or
really?
something like this.
Oh, okay.
I just seen in the news.
Right.
Yeah, mm, yeah. There are some college students.
Right.
Uh,
But are they going to school for farming? Like, do they go to school to learn about farming, or they just go back home to help? Like,
mm, maybe they are very interested in farming.
oh, okay.
I think, but I don't really know
Hmm.
they learn farming or
Oh,
agriculture,
okay.
something like this.
That's interesting.
But they are knowledgeable
Hmm.
in some fields.
Right,
Maybe
right. Okay.
they can look for some knowledge about farming.
Hmm.
Yes, right.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And maybe they're getting that knowledge from maybe their family, because maybe their family is like they're farmers or something, or maybe they're going to school to learn about farming. Who knows? But yeah,
Yeah,
um, and another
they are very
thing,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, they're very interested. Another thing is that, um, the young farmers who are going to school and wanting to farm in America, they're actually trying a different version or a different model of farming. So the old farming model, you had to like inherit your land,
Mm-hmm.
from your parents or your family.
Yeah.
So you had to inherit your land. But now there's a new model that new farmers are trying. Now farmers are trying renting land, um,
Mm-hmm.
because I guess like the costs of agriculture and farming has um, increased. It's more expensive now to be a farmer. So
Yeah.
instead of the new farmers buying land or inheriting land, now they're renting land from other farmers. So
Yeah.
maybe one farmer has this much land, they have so much land, and then they
Yeah.
rent just like a little bit of land so
Mm-hmm.
that another farmer can farm and grow his own crops, or grow her own, or raise her own um, animals and stuff like that. So I wanted to know, is that something that happens in China as well? Do people
Mm-hmm.
rent land?
Okay. American farmers have much land. average farmers have how much land?
Average farmer. That's a good question. I'm not sure. Maybe it depends on what you are farming. So if you
Mm-hmm.
farm crops, then maybe you have much more land than maybe uh, a cattle farmer, right? Or someone who farms cows, or maybe yeah. So I think like it depends, but yeah, I think like
They
yeah.
have the ownership of their land.
Yeah. So most farmers have ownership of their land, but now
Oh,
the new farmers are trying a new model where they just rent
yeah,
land from
I know.
someone else. Yeah.
It's
So
similar.
it's similar.
But something different in China maybe. Our farmers maybe don't have so much land because
Uh,
Chinese people are very yeah, the population of our Chinese people very
okay, I see.
very large.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we our farmers don't usually have so much land.
Mm.
Maybe some successful farmers they will rent other farmers land uh,
Okay.
because one farmer they own this kind of maybe I will maybe they will rent five farmers land
Mm-hmm.
so they can have a big one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that is similar as well in America. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And so I think that's mostly the lifestyle in the lifestyle of farmers. So I think like um, yeah, so it's kind of funny because like for me, I didn't realize that there are some students who become farmers. So it's interesting to hear that some farmers have student debt, like they have loans to pay back from college. I was like, oh, really? So that's really interesting.
Okay, I
Yeah,
think they are more easily to
yeah,
be successful.
mm-hmm, yeah. And so that's the life of in rural America. So in the city life, um,
Mhm.
so this
I think I have sort of question.
mhm.
Mm, how much percentage of Americans are farmers?
ah oh, that's a great question. So the question is, um, so what is the percentage
About
of farmers in
yeah
America?
about. Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. Let me see, because I don't even know. Um, but I think that like maybe it's growing. Let's see. Percentage of farmers. Um, wow. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know. Can you guess?
Mm-hmm.
Can you guess how much?
um, maybe 30%.
mm,
I don't know.
so it's less than 2% of the population is
Less than
directly and
2%.
less than 2%.
Less than 2%.
Yeah, right. So it says in 2012 there were 3.2 million farmers, ranchers, and other agriculture managers um, in the U.S. So that's 3.2 million in 2012. So maybe in 2019, I'm not sure if there's been a big change, but I would say around 3 million farmers, and
Wow.
that's shocking. That's shocking. I didn't
Yeah.
know. I didn't know. Um, and I think because like for each farmer, maybe they just grow a lot of crops, or maybe they raise a
Yeah.
lot of horses. So maybe each farmer, let's say one farmer grows like 10,000 crops or 20,000 crops.
Wow.
So maybe like,
So,
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot for one farmer, you know.
it's so efficient.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So what about in China or in south of China?
Mm, okay, I don't really know. I also surf on the internet.
Oh, okay, 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 yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. Wow, that was a good question. Good question,
I,
Jane.
I think maybe 30%.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe I
You
just
just
guess
guessed, right?
in my own opinion.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
let's go on.
So
Go
yeah,
ahead.
so we have the rural life, and then we have urban, and urban life is like city life, right? So
Yeah,
that's where,
urban, urban.
yeah. So there's lots of different lifestyles in urban
Mm-hmm.
America. So you have one lifestyle, you know, you live in a big city, and then after that you retire, and then you own your own home and stuff like that. But there's other lifestyles as well that are very interesting to me. There's one called like a nomadic lifestyle. Nomadic. So I'll write that word for you. Um,
Nomadic,
mhm. Nomadic.
medical things, maybe.
No. So this is
Oh,
actually
okay.
where they where it's like for traveling your whole life. So maybe you go and you live in one place, then you travel to another place, and then you just go to different places of the world, just living there and gaining experience. And like the new technology has made this lifestyle very popular. So what people do is that for work, they travel and they record themselves. So they make videos of their travels and their lifestyle. So maybe they will travel to China and live in China for a year, or live in China for a few months, and then they put it online for people to see. And the more people who like your videos and stuff like that, then the more money you get. So basically, you get money for just traveling all over the place. So there's some people on Instagram and YouTube who do this a lot. So what they do is they travel to different countries, different cities, and then they put it online for their followers to watch, and they get paid for that. So that's like a more nomadic lifestyle. That's one of the newest lifestyles that people are doing nowadays. Um, and then you have like the the traditional city lifestyle is where you go and you live in a big city for most of your career. Like let's say you work in New York City, maybe as a fashion designer, right? So you design clothes for the big New York Fashion Week. That's the big event in New York, and you work for a fashion agency, um, and then the typical lifestyle of in the city is that you live in an apartment, right? And you rent it. You don't own it yet. You rent it out, um, and you do that for, I would say, a few years until you know you have you have progressed in your career. If when you get the raise, and when you get what's the word I'm looking for? When you get promoted, then you get more money,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're able to move to a bigger and better apartment. And those apartments, we call them like condos, and I think you know what a condo is, right? It's like the top floor, the top apartment, and you have like the whole floor to yourself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so so pretty much, like in that type of lifestyle, you don't really get the opportunity to buy a house because you're living in a big city where it's very expensive, and
Yeah.
you can only just like afford like to live in an apartment. But once you are, um, I would say, very advanced in your career, and you're ready to retire, then some people start looking to settle down. So when they want to settle down, they look outside of the city to buy a house. So um, they probably buy a house outside of New York. So they probably buy a house, um, I would say, in New Jersey, which is close to New York, but not inside of New York, or Pennsylvania or Connecticut. So somewhere around New York, but not inside of New York because New York is way
Yeah,
too
yeah, yeah.
expensive.
Are there some houses in New York?
There are some houses in New York, but
They are very expensive.
yeah, yeah, I would say like only the very rich people can
Mm-hmm.
afford those places. Yeah, but and the thing is, even though there are some houses in New York City, um, there are only a few houses in New York City. So
Yeah.
most of them are apartments. So even if you did want to buy a house in New York City and you thought you had enough money, most of the time, it wouldn't even be available. So the best thing to do is just buy rent an apartment. So it's
Yeah, I think it's similar,
yeah,
similar to
yeah,
the big cities in China.
yeah,
Both are apartments.
mm,
I live in an apartment.
yeah, yeah.
Houses are very expensive and very just a few
hmm
of houses in big cities.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, there are both houses are in um, um, okay, some places near big
right.
cities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Yeah. So it's exactly the same here. And then we have townhouses. I'll type that word for you. So townhouses are um it's it's like it's a house, but it's not like a full house. So
mhm.
it's like it's like you have one house and then you have another house and they're like in the same house. It's like uh, it's like one building, right? One building, and inside the building is two houses. Like if you
Oh,
yeah. So basically, it's not your own house because you're sharing that house with another family or another person. So,
oh,
and that's kind of the lifestyle in most of New York City. There's a lot of townhouses, and that's just because like um, it's very hard to have a house and have all of the land around the house to yourself.
yeah.
So townhouses there's a lot of townhouses in urban cities. So
Mm-hmm.
um,
Okay. Okay. Just now you said traveling
mhm.
and is a new lifestyle in
Yeah.
city.
hmm
Mm, it's very popular. The phenomenon is very popular.
Very popular, very popular. So if you I don't know, do you have Instagram?
Instagram.
Instagram, it's like a app. It's like a phone app. But
Yeah.
yeah, so like lots of people they post their travel videos on there. So they have
Yeah.
like
I have ever seen this kind of yeah.
oh,
There
so
are
you've seen it before, right?
yeah. There are I have seen a couple in China.
Oh, really?
They traveling and
hmm
they make much money.
Yeah,
Like something similar
exactly.
you. Yeah.
Exactly. So what they do is, yep. So that's what they do. They travel, and then they just record themselves. So they just record what they're doing in the city. So they say,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
They
then
just put their videos
Exactly, exactly, and they make a lot of money because
by they how they make money?
oh yeah, they make money from those. So they have the apps that they use to make money. So they have one app is called YouTube, um,
Mm-hmm.
and YouTube pays them money,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Oh.
they're creating content. So they're creating videos that YouTube users are using, right? So if you create content and the YouTube people are satisfied or the YouTube
Yeah.
customers, then YouTube will pay you because you are helping them bring customers to their website, right? And
I
then so there's like YouTube, um, and then there's other platforms like Facebook and Instagram. So
mm-hmm.
that's how they make money, and it's
Oh.
becoming very popular now. I think I'm gonna try it too.
Oh.
No, no,
Okay.
no, no, no.
That's
I'm
very
kidding.
good.
I'm kidding.
I will see you a video every
Mm.
day.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. So maybe that can be our next conversation. We can talk about that lifestyle. Talk about it in more detail. Um,
Okay, okay,
yeah.
okay, okay. I want to know more detail about
Okay.
this one, and I want to know more detail about some most American city life.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good.
Uh,
So just like whatever questions you have, just write it in our chat, and I'll find information to help. Okay.
okay.
All right. So I think that's the end of the
Okay. See you
lesson.
next time.
All right. Bye.